and the Usos come out. This was great. They kept promoting throughout the show, the Bloodline will be here. Well, the Bloodline minus Roman Reigns was going to be here.
As far as I'm concerned, as long as Sami is in there with one of those guys, that's the Bloodline now. I don't care about the rest. He's the key ingredient.
Sami Zayn is my favorite person in WWE right now. Like every week he's been doing these great segments with Roman Reigns, and they're in this entrance. This guy needs to come out with the Usos theme every time from now on. He was awesome here. If I had time, I would have just rewound and watched this multiple times. He was the best coming out to the Usos theme. It was so awesome.
He's the best. He's the best.
They cut a promo about the Bloodline running both shows. Roman's going to beat Drew on Saturday, and they get interrupted by Kevin Owens.
The best thing is, like, Zayn, he's throwing the ones up with these guys. He's yelling, yeet. Like yeet. You know, it's the best. He's so incredibly aware of who he is, what his role is, and the exact perfect thing he needs to do to play dorky white guy amongst the coolest stable in the company.
The photo that circulates all the time of the Bloodline and with Zayn as teenagers, it's the best.
Amazing.
It's so perfect to describe this relationship. So Kevin is out, and he states that he is the one that runs this show and says that Roman still owes him one. And Jay asks, "Is this your boy, Sami?" And Sami is just caught in the middle here. He says, technically, yes. Technically, yes. Could you imagine that way?
Technically, yes.
Are you friends with Pollock? Technically, yes. And he tells Zayn to get him before Jay does. So Zayn is put in the middle here, and he explains to Kevin that Roman Reigns doesn't owe anyone anything, ever. That's how it is. Owens says, it's really sad. It's very sad to see, Sami, that you have forgotten that you're one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time, and you're being reduced to being the Bloodline's clown. You're still my best friend. Your family. It's sad. It's really sad. You should reassess things.
Called him a brother.
Yes, he called him a brother. And this was the classic. It's way worse. It's one thing for someone to be upset at you. It's 10 times worse for someone to be disappointed in you. And this was Kevin being disappointed in him. And Sami explains, the Bloodline likes me. Jimmy likes me. And Jay, we're working on it. We're working on it. Well, Roman likes me. And then Jay threatens Owens if he doesn't leave, but Owens walks right into the ring and says that Jay and Paul Heyman are the only reason he did not end Roman's title reign at last year's Royal Rumble 18 months ago, and that for 2 years your head has been up your cousin's ass, and ends it by stating, now's the time where we put the microphones down, we get a referee, and we just fight. Great
stuff. Great stuff here from everybody involved, including Kevin Owens, who came across like such a badass here. He had so many moments where he was just like, he was stepping into, a 3-on-1 disadvantage. And when things got, escalated to physical altercation, he looked in the back, saw that nobody was coming to his aid, and proceeded to walk into the fire anyway. He's doing some tremendous work right now as this sort of badass babyface, and I thought he was great. Zayn's character is so incredibly compelling in every single one of these backstage or in front of stage performances with the Bloodline. He has nailed every single delivery that he needs to convey, whether it's comedy or some sort of, quandary about whether or not he stays loyal to his friend or to his new friends. In this case, he's found himself caught between, ex-friend, who appreciates him for his true self, or his new Mean Girls friends, the cool clique, that he has to pretend to be somebody else for. And I love that they're just doing such a great job of telling these stories. In particular, I love his relationship with Jay Uso. I love his relationship with Jimmy Uso as well. Like, they have that ridiculous handshake.
Jimmy's like, this guy's kind of cool.
Yeah. And they have the ridiculous handshake to prove it, which I think you and I should learn, John. But Jay's performances, I think, have been very good too. He's doing such a good job of looking mean and completely unfriendly. And I would argue, I feel like this might be the most distinct I felt like the two Usos have been for quite some time. The fact that they each have their own feelings towards Zayn, and they play such vastly different characters at this point. So everybody in this was tremendous.
And they had a nice match here. They go to the floor, and Jimmy distracts, allowing for Jay to hit a super kick, and then a Samoan drop to Owens onto the steps. That sets up the commercial break. We come back. The stunner and super kick are both stopped from each other. Owens then hits his own super kick and sets up Jay for the pop-up, but he lands on his feet, super kicking Owens, and hits the Uso splash for a near fall. Tries another with Owens cradling him, and then Jimmy gets knocked off the apron. Owens hits a frog splash, and then to the floor he goes, and he's about to hit an apron bomb when Sami steps in, and he takes his eye off of Jay to deal with Sami and allows Jay to land a dive onto Owens, and the Usos instruct Sami, get a chair. And Sami's, what chair? What chair? And he goes, he gets a chair, and he's so conflicted as Owens is draped on the rope, and they're telling him to hit him. And just as he's about to, he has to make a decision, he spots the referee, and he can't hit Owens with the chair. Jimmy is furious, and Zayn's explaining he would have disqualified you. So he's got the out here. And with that, Jay turns around, he's stunned by Owens, and Owens gets the win.
We saw some other spot earlier in the evening with Finn Balor and AJ Styles, except I felt obviously this one was far better told, because you had the promo time between Kevin and Sami, and also because Kevin and Sami have a much longer believable history than Finn and AJ Styles. But I thought they told the next chapter in this whole thing really well here. Sami, as he fucks up at the end, slides into the ring to try to make the save, and he gives the best facial expression ever that the camera closes in on, like he knew he just fucked up with both Jay and the Tribal Chief. Good match. Again, Jey Uso I think has been great. Kevin Owens has been on a real great run ever since he fully turned babyface, and it seems to continue this build for Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. Which how do you see that? When do you see that match happening? And does it telegraph a certain finish at Clash at the Castle?
I mean, it's like the match. It's tough because it would almost have to be like, I don't think Reigns is scheduled for the October show. So you could do it on TV, and then you're looking at like Survivor Series if you are going to go that direction, or if you're just leaving this as this ultimate goal for Kevin Owens that. Because I don't completely throw out the notion of Drew winning on Saturday, and I think like the more they've gone all the way with Drew on this build up, and it's really hard for me to see him losing on Saturday. But at the same time, there's been a lot of those cases where it's just been dominance for Roman, and that could happen. I think the audience is going to be into both, to be quite honest. I don't think it's going to be a strict Drew crowd. Like, I think Roman will be like, I think the atmosphere is going to be tremendous for that match on Saturday. Agreed.
So in that sense, they can really go with either guy, coming out of Clash at the Castle. But I think I'm in agreement that I see Drew as more of a favorite, just to make a bit of a statement at this, big stadium show overseas. And if that is the case, are they, when we're speaking of Kevin Owens, are they working overtime to try to, swerve us, to misdirect us into thinking that we're going to get Owens versus Reigns right after Clash at the Castle?
Yeah, which is just like, it can just be this elusive thing of Kevin Owens with Roman Reigns. Like, they're bringing up their match from a year and a half ago, and it's like, there's no reason that we're so conditioned in WWE that it's these 30-day periods that exist. Like, this is stuff this can be a long-term story that you get to when you're ready to do it with Owens and Reigns, and it doesn't have to be in 3 or 4 weeks time.